Hello, this is Brian Calley, the President and CEO of the Small Business Association of Michigan. And this is our Thursday edition of the Small Business Briefing.
Hi, everyone. Sarah Miller, Vice President of Marketing and Strategic Communications at SBAM, and we are coming to you from the Medalist Golf Course in Marshall, Michigan for SBAM's annual golf outing. So Brian, I'll let you take over and introduce our special guest.
All right, very good. Thanks, Sarah. And as you can see, we are at the Medalist Golf Club, and there's you see behind me, beautiful day, beautiful course. This is now 5 years running that our annual golf outing to benefit our foundation has been held at this course, and Lowell Weaver takes great care of us, awesome small business owner, and is joining us today. So Lowell, first of all, thanks for doing such an excellent job in hosting SBAM each year. Thanks for the beautiful blue skies and of course the outstanding course. But give us a little bit of a background of how you got to this point, how long you had this course, how'd you get into the business, and then after that we'll get into how things are going.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming out here and allowing us to host your event. It's a great event, and it's nice seeing all the small business owners out here and things like that. So as far as I go, I've been here since 1999. I actually was the general manager on site for a couple of different owners through 2017, and then purchased it myself in 2017 with one partner. And now I just chew my fingernails every day, hoping that people show up and it's a nice day out and stuff like that. So yeah, my background is I was the golf course superintendent, went to Michigan State, played golf there, and then got into the golf business and opened a couple of courses, grew in a few, built a few, and then moved up into this one. So I'm blessed to be here.
Yeah, awesome. And you know, of course, I think that would be a familiar story to others who worked in the business and then bought the business they were working with. So congratulations on that transition. Of course, you know, right in the heart of that was a pretty complicated time to be a business owner. So coming out of the pandemic, of course, even during the pandemic, a lot of people did turn to golf as a great way to get out there and do things, and kind of rediscovering the sport, and those who love it really leaned into it. Maybe give us a sense for what type of, last couple of years, this year, last year, what type of seasons have you had? What type of activity?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we got in 2017, of course, when COVID hit, and everything was shut down for a little while. We were really concerned about what might happen and what's going to transpire, because you still have to mow the grass and maintain things regardless. But it was interesting because golf was one of the few things that people could do. They couldn't go to the gyms, they couldn't go work out, they couldn't go to bars, restaurants, any kind of stuff. So we actually saw in the golf industry, at least in Michigan, a huge influx of people that weren't normally there. And what I saw mostly was a dynamic of I'm going to say the 20 to 35-year-old males and females that typically weren't golfers in the past, but they couldn't go to the gyms, they couldn't go to the bars, things like that. They picked up the game of golf. And even when COVID now is starting to, I'm not going to say go away, but subside, it's not quite as prevalent, we still see those people here, which is awesome. I mean, it's a demographic that was not in the golf industry, that all of us golf courses now see and hear and love the fact that they fell in love with the game. So even now that they can go to the bars and to the gyms and all that kind of stuff, they're still coming out to the golf course, which is good for our industry.
So how would you say of course the season's not over. There's a lot of good golf to be had yet this year. But how's this year stacking up to previous years?
Yeah, it's not been bad. As you know, Mother Nature was pretty rough on us on April and May. It was probably one of the coldest, wettest springs I can ever remember. But I've always said Mother Nature gets even with you one way or the other throughout the season, and she's been good to us the last couple of months, which has been really good. So we've had a decent year. Last year was middle of 2020 until the end of 2021 was just a booming couple of seasons for us at the golf course. It's down slightly from that, but not much. And I think we're going to have a pretty good fall too. So I expect us to have another good year and look forward to 2023.
All right, great. So that's on the sales side of things, but now you got expenses and you got to staff the place too. And I know that there's been it's been rough lately, right? You know, managing in a rising cost environment, supply chain issues, and keeping any business staffed these days. Maybe give a sense for how those issues have really hit you here.
Yeah, just like any business right now, supply chains are an issue. We had, for example, we ordered a mower last October, paid for it in December, still waiting for it. And then you order, so we have a part in our kitchen. We got an oven that's down. It's been down for 6 weeks, waiting for a thermostat. Everybody's going through that, so you have to figure out a way to meander through a lot of the things that you can't do because of products that just aren't available. Gas, like everybody else, a golf course, not only do we have gas and diesel running all of our mowers and stuff, but also all of our fertilizers are petroleum based. So everything is going up just like with everybody else. Our staffing, we've increased their pay just to keep good people here because they have options now, and it's I think that you need to do that in this industry right now. Just say, okay, we got good people. We want to make them happy. Let's make them raise them up where they should be. But yeah, it's just every week my chef's like, oh, this didn't come in this week or that didn't come in this week. So we just you have to be able to pivot and figure out the best way to get through to the next event and get whatever items you can on place and make sure the customer's happy.
Well, we know that you do an awesome job, and obviously there's a lot of things that you've had to manage through, and yet you wouldn't know it for how smooth the SBAM golf outing goes. So thanks for being such an outstanding business owner and for joining us on the briefing. We've got some other topics that we're going to cover with the group before we welcome the golfers back in for the end here of the time supporting the SBAM Foundation. Lowell, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.
All
well,
right.
Why don't we get back, with Sarah, and we can go through some of the other issues that have arisen over the course of this last week. Just like all weeks, it just seems like the news and the type of news that matters to small business owners just keeps on coming.
It really does. And before we get into some news, Brian, you mentioned that this outing benefits the SBAM Foundation. And the SBAM Foundation is brand new and all, So can you tell everybody a little bit about the foundation and what they can expect to learn more about it as we move forward?
This is actually an exciting time at SBAM. So as you know, SBAM has been around for more than 50 years. In fact, actually, I'm wearing my 50th anniversary SBAM shirt today, but we're actually 53 years old now. But the association itself, it's a nonprofit, and it's operated as a 501c6 throughout its history. But there's certain parts of what we do that would be better suited for a traditional 501c3, a traditional foundation. And so we have launched that this year and started a portfolio of work under the foundation. And this will allow us to work with a broader set of stakeholders and potential partners, given just kind of the difference between this legal status of an organization. So true charitable 501c3. We do intend to work on what you'll see coming up, our entrepreneurship scorecard. So it's information and education. We know our top line economic statistics tell one story, but the entrepreneurial economy doesn't necessarily line up with that. Our entrepreneur scorecard each year, that will be a project handled by the foundation, is going to be a really important part of making sure that the story of the entrepreneurial economy is told. Also, training and education and entrepreneurship, and including ensuring that we have opportunity in all places for all people in entrepreneurship. And really, really excited about some of the things that we're planning later on to launch there, and research and publications in connection with entrepreneurship. So there'll be great opportunities to support the overall environment for entrepreneurs in our state through our foundation, and this golf outing kind of kicks off the that work with a new entity to support an old mission.
And we do have this, the beginning of a web page started for the foundation. You can visit sbamfoundation.org to learn more about the work we're going to be doing, and then we'll be updating it as we move forward, especially with that scorecard. So Brian, new inflation numbers were recently released. How are we doing?
Well, last week when I said that this week, or on Monday when I said later on this week the inflation numbers will come out, I thought inflation would be, a little bit better, but still very high. Unfortunately, I was wrong. It was the same and so very high. The headline inflation, that top line number at 8.3%, technically is down a little bit from the previous month, but basically the same. And then with respect to the core inflation, this is the stickier inflation, the part that's harder to move. That actually went up, unfortunately. And so you have two things happening out there in inflation that are moving in different directions. You've got overall inflation, which includes the commodities. Those move up and down real quick, things like gas. So gasoline, the cost of gasoline, because crude has been falling, the cost of gasoline has been falling. That so that has created an environment where the overall inflation is staying the same or has ticked down just a little bit. But core inflation, the stuff that's not commodity based, that actually did go up and up to about 6.3%. So this is I think not all, but it ensures, it guarantees that there are multiple interest rate increases yet still in our future. We know that the Federal Reserve has already increased interest rates to try to cool off this inflation. And so there was this question, would it be 75 basis points? Would it be 50 basis points? Would they do 1 or 2 or 3 more? I think this really locks in that additional larger interest rate increases at the 75 basis point level are going to happen. And so as we look forward into the future and see this kind of aggressive action, here's the key. I mean, there's a delicate balance here. They increase interest rates when they're more concerned about inflation than a recession, and they decrease interest rates when they're more concerned about a recession as compared to inflation. And it's really easy to overshoot it. And so that the art of this work that the Federal Reserve is trying to accomplish is, how do we cool off inflation without causing a deep, long recession? That there's not a playbook that says exactly what to do and exactly when to do it. But these inflation numbers, I think, really do guarantee that the Federal Reserve will continue to move forward very aggressively on interest rates over the course of the next few meetings that they hold. Now, a couple of other, actually, I just cover one because it's just one that people experience every day. And actually, Lowell talked about, because they serve food at golf courses, getting food in, what you can get, and the rising cost of everything. Grocery prices year over year up 13.5%. So while core inflation was 6.3, headline or overall inflation was 8.3. Grocery inflation, which is something that everybody experiences, at 13.5. So those are the sorts of things that really just hit regular people very, very hard. And unfortunately, while the inflation is kind of held steady at its high level, we've not yet seen it start to come down. Now, all that said, I think that consumers are feeling some relief in the form of gasoline prices coming down. And part of that, they go up in the summer, they do almost every year, and they tend to start coming down. So there's a natural cycle happening here. We know production is up, but also high prices actually do kind of push down consumption. So I think all of those things are conspiring together to bring gasoline prices. So consumers are feeling a little bit of relief there, but but certainly across the board are experiencing the same level of increased costs that they have for the last several months.
And what about wages? Are there implications for wage growth here?
Yeah, this is one of the areas where I don't think people necessarily tune into, and why there's such a concern about the possibility of a deeper recession than what we're already kind of in store for. And that's because as inflation goes up, even if you see overall wages going up, and we definitely see overall wages going up, it's not going up as much as inflation. And so there's a real wage decline. The buying power of the American consumer is going down. And it has been now, get this, for 17 months in a row. So there's been real wage decline. When you said actual wage growth minus inflation, essentially is what that means, that you've seen a decline over the course of the last almost year and a half. And of course, the economy in America is driven by consumer activity. And so if that buying power is being diminished, and we know that the savings rates from pre-pandemic, or from during the pandemic, remember the pandemic savings rates went way up, credit card debt went down. That has reversed now since the pandemic has ended in terms of the depth of it. And that now that trend is reversed, where credit card debt is back up, savings rates are back down, and real wage growth just isn't there. And it won't. Some people say, I hear the politicians, they say, oh, well, it's because businesses aren't doing their part. Businesses are experiencing higher costs across the board, and so trying to run a business sustainably, they're chasing the wage growth and trying to increase wages. And as you heard our guest today talk about just the necessity of doing that to hold on to good people, and that's what is being done. But it's a losing battle to chase high inflation. You can't solve inflation with just wage increases. You have to actually bring down inflation. And so the real wage buying power decline of the American public, I think, makes the risk of a tougher recession higher. And of course, that will affect all of us.
All right, so let's turn to some Michigan numbers. The state released unemployment numbers this week. How are we doing here?
Yeah, the state, so we heard that there's the federal unemployment numbers come out, then the for us, and we really felt that, and still feeling it today. It did, it has gone up just a little bit above 60%, so still a couple percent, which is a couple percent is a lot in labor force participation. It's still a couple percent off from what we experienced before the pandemic, but at 60.1%, it has been the same for 3 consecutive months. So it's exactly the same as it's been for 3 months. So at least it's not declining, but unfortunately we don't see it growing yet. And we need to really catch up to at least to where we were before the pandemic. Unfortunately, our demographics are working against us, though. A lot of those who have exited the labor force are older workers, and of course, older workers are harder to win back into the labor force once they exit. So this is going to be a tough long-term problem. It's nice to be back over 60% for the last 3 months, but if if people are still feeling a real pinch and getting people and getting good help, it's not just you. That labor force participation rate has remained stubbornly low.
Right. Well, that's all we have for you today. I do want to thank Lowell Weaver and the Medalist for not only hosting our golf outing, but also allowing us some space to bring you today's briefing. We hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will see you back here on Monday.
Thanks, everybody. See you on Monday, and well, I'll probably be back in my office, but what a pleasure it's been to be at the Medalist. It's in Marshall, so check it out. There's a lot of good golf to be had between now and when the snow flies. See you on Monday, everybody.